สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. So the holiday season is coming up, so I thought I'd share with you a recipe that would make perfect edible gifts. These are tiny little melt in your mouth cookies called kanom. Now kanom means a snack or a dessert, and ping means to cook something using radiant heat, sort of the same way you would warm your hands over flame, you know? And it's named this way because most Thai desserts, some of you may have noticed, does not use radiant heat. It's either boiled or steamed or fried. So my guess is that this was one of the very first recipes that uses the technique that nowadays we would call baking. So it's a super easy dessert, and as a bonus, it's gluten-free and so addictively delicious. Let's get started. So this cookie recipe is one of the easiest ever. It's only got 5 ingredients and really 4 important ones. Now I've got here some coconut milk, and what I'm gonna do is make a very thick coconut syrup. So in addition to that, of course, some sugar. Now I'm using white sugar here because we want to keep the cookies color white. If you want, you can try palm sugar and get that butterscotchy flavor in there, but traditionally it's white sugar that we use. Now you can leave the cookies just plain coconut flavor using the flavor from the coconut milk, or you can add a little bit of jasmine extract. I am going to use my good old pandan leaf here, which is nice and aromatic and goes super well with coconut. Some people just use a drop of vanilla these days. So I'm gonna bring this to a simmer and then let it simmer gently for about 20 to 30 minutes to reduce it into sort of a thick syrupy consistency. Now the timing will vary depending on the size of your pot and your heat and all that, so definitely keep an eye on it. Look at this. Oh, look how good that is already. It's syrupy, coconutty. The smell of pandan leaf is, oh, so good. Okay, I'm just gonna take the pandan leaf out, and then I'm gonna let the syrup cool just until it's warmish. It doesn't have to be completely cool. So the syrup has cooled. So now I'm gonna add 1 egg yolk to this and stir it in with my trusty little mini whisk. Now you can leave these white, or you can color these with food coloring. And if you just want one color, I'd suggest mixing it in now. But if you want different colors like me, then I will wait till the dough is done and then separate the dough and color them then. Okay, so now there's our liquid ingredients. Dry ingredients, there's just one thing, tapioca starch. Now you can find tapioca starch at an Asian grocery store. Comes in a bag like this. And yes, it's upside down. I apologize. I cut open the wrong end. Health food stores also have it, but those are really expensive. So if you can, look for this at an Asian grocery store, okay? At my local store, this is $1 a bag versus $7 a bag. Crazy, right? Yes. So now, super easy. I'm going to pour my liquid ingredients into my tapioca starch. Make sure you use a rubber spatula to scrape every last bit in there. So now I'm just going to use my hands and knead everything together. The syrup's still a little bit warm. This part feels so good. And it's going to feel like there's not enough liquid in the beginning, but just give it time. It takes the tapioca starch a bit of time to absorb all that liquid. Now this recipe, because it involves reducing a liquid, everyone's gonna sort of end up at different volumes, different amount of liquid. So you may end up needing to add a little bit more flour, a little bit more water, and that's just something you'll have to see at the end. The trickiest part about this recipe is how moist or how dry the dough needs to be. And so the first batch is going to be a bit of a test run for you. However, if you do feel like it's way too dry, don't add a splash of water because the dough does not need a lot of water. So what you'll do is you need a spray bottle and just put in just a couple of spritz and then knead that in. It really doesn't need that much more sometimes. Okay, so now my dough is more or less well mixed. I'm going to divide it into 3 different blocks so I can have 3 different colors. There we go. And since it's the holiday season, I'm gonna make pink and green and white ones. A couple of drops of my red food coloring and knead that in. All right. Beautiful. So now, once you're done mixing the dough, you want the dough to rest for about half an hour. And I find that resting period allows the starch to fully absorb the liquid, and it does make a difference to the texture at the end. Kanom is usually just tiny little bite-sized pieces. So what you want is just about this big. And this will puff up a little bit. So they look tiny right now, but I find the tiny ones so cute. You can make them bigger if you want. And that's it, as simple as that. I'm using a silicone sheet so that they don't stick. You can also do parchment paper, and it doesn't have to be perfectly round right now. That will even itself out in the oven. And now these are gonna go into a 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Now they won't brown very much, but you can tell they're done when the bottoms are brown. And the white ones, you can tell it's starting to get a little bit of color, but these won't brown as much as, say, a wheat cookie, because that's just the nature of tapioca starch. So we'll be right back. Look how cute these are. They've been in the oven for about 30 minutes. They've browned a little bit on the bottom. Again, they don't brown very much in general. And these little cracks have formed, which I love. Now, if your dough is a little bit on the moist side, there won't be any cracks, okay? And they'll spread a little bit more, but that's not wrong, okay? There's a lot of kanom that don't have any cracks, and the texture will actually be a little lighter. So these, because the dough was on the dry side, it has these cute little cracks, and it'll be a little denser when you eat them, okay? Here's one last trick I'm gonna give you, and I kind of discovered this by accident. If you want an even lighter, more brittle texture, instead of letting these cool outside, let them cool in the oven that you've turned off. And that residual heat will continue to sort of dry them out, and that's how they become super, super brittle. So, you've got time, definitely do that. And if you're serving these at a party, just pop them in a little bowl, alternate the colors. They are so cute, and these, because they're so small, super addictive. Look how pretty. The green didn't show up as much as I thought, but the pink certainly did. Time to eat one. I could use a nice cup of tea or coffee to go with these. If you've never had these before, it is a texture like nothing else. They crumble and are brittle, kind of like a meringue cookie. And as you start chewing them, they sort of melt and turn into this creamy, coconutty goodness in your mouth. And it's really something you have to experience in order to know what I mean. So I hope you give these little guys a try. When you make it, send me a photo on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. The recipe, as always, will be on hotthaikitchen.com, and I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal. This recipe only has 5 ingredients. It's so easy. Only has 5 ingredients.